In this manhwa recap, Hanmaru was a failure. No job, no future, just panic attacks and instant noodles. Then he bit a demon and everything changed. Now, every monster he eats gives him their power. But when the government forces him into a secret war against hellish creatures, he realizes his gluttony might be the only thing that saves humanity. Too bad the demons are hungry too, and he's on the menu. This is Special Civil Servant, where the ultimate underdog fights back. Eat or be eaten, literally. The story begins in a restricted area, where a camp in the middle of the forest. A brown-haired guy is lying on the ground with blood on his face and shirt. In front of the brown-haired guy, a bunch of people are dead, desperate. The brown-haired guy says that there's something inside this yellow dust. The outline of something approaches the brown-haired guy, drawing a gigantic sword completely bathed in red, with a few bells on the tip. The brown-haired guy begs for help, but at that very moment, a strange creature leaps out of the bushes and grabs the brown-haired guy's foot. The brown-haired guy is dragged into the smoke, leaving a trail behind. Sometime later, the brown-haired guy's body is found dead. A group of friends looks at the brown-haired guy, commenting that the brown-haired guy shouldn't have been wandering around there. A brown-haired girl complains that now they'll have to mark it as a casualty, while the one with black hair says that judging by the footprints, they'll have to start working before it's too late. That's when the black-haired girl hears the sound of water beside her. The three turn around, and the black-haired girl starts moving with her hand in her pocket. The black-haired girl pulls out a knife and makes a cut on her hand. The blade becomes bathed, and then the black-haired girl's blood seems to interact with the sword, beginning to flow up her arm. The one with brown hair then points to the dust and says, "It's coming." The black-haired girl takes a step forward and responds that she'll handle it. That little knife appears to have absorbed the black-haired girl's entire arm and has now turned into a massive sword. On the black-haired girl's back, it shows that she is part of the Yellow Dust Task Force. The scene then shifts to a completely different place. In a building, a job interview for public service in the city of Seoul is taking place. A bunch of people are in the waiting room while numbers are called. In the meantime, a black-haired boy sitting in the bathroom says he feels like he is about to die. The black-haired boy doesn't want to go in. He just wants to go home. The black-haired boy's heart is about to explode. With his hand on his chest, heart racing, the black-haired boy says, "This is impossible." The black-haired boy goes to the sink, splashes water on his face, and tries to calm down, repeating to himself that, yes, the black-haired boy can do it. He just needs to take a few more pills, and even though there are a lot, at least they work. Suddenly, the black-haired boy glances to the side, and a little bird lands on a branch. The tiny animal looks at the black-haired boy, and the boy stares back intently. After a second of silence, the creature opens a big eye, asking what he's looking at and telling the black-haired boy that he's screwed. However, the black-haired guy isn't even that shaken, just commenting that panic attacks really are a disaster. Meanwhile, on the way to the interview room, the news report shows that 4 guys who were camping went missing on Ganghwa Island. The black-haired boy, our protagonist, keeps walking, telling himself that he can do it. The black-haired boy's name is Hanmaru. He is 29 years old and the most average person possible. Hanmaru is just an ordinary student from a regular school who graduated from a mediocre university and is struggling to find a job. This is the 5th year that Hanmaru has been trying to become a public servant, and only now has Hanmaru reached the interview stage. At that moment, a black-haired woman enters the room and calls Hanmaru's name. He immediately stands up excitedly, saying, "Hanmaru is here," while repeating to himself, "This time, Hanmaru will definitely make it." Hanmaru marches stiffly, telling himself it's going to be easy, until Hanmaru comes face to face with the big boss behind the laptop, staring at him. Hanmaru swallows hard, and the interviewer asks why Hanmaru wants to become a civil servant. Hanmaru blurts out awkwardly, shouting that Hanmaru wants to give back to the community and help society. Yeah, that's it. But in Hanmaru's head, he is thinking that what Hanmaru actually wants is stability, a steady salary, a secure life, and not too many adventures. Then the interviewer asks what Hanmaru would do if his superior did something wrong. Hanmaru replies that, honestly, He would point out what the person did wrong and try to find a solution, but would remain flexible and positive. Hanmaru knows that if he says he wouldn't do anything, these guys won't approve him. So Hanmaru is just lying, as if he would actually get involved in other people's business. The interviewer then asks how Hanmaru handles people. With a bright and confident smile, Hanmaru says he's terrible at it. Hanmaru can't communicate well, gets stressed easily, and was bullied at school because of his panic attacks and everything else. That's what Hanmaru said, but in his head, Hanmaru was going to say that he's super friendly, has great friends, and still keeps in touch with his classmates. The interviewer looks confused, and the fool realizes Hanmaru said what he was supposed to think and thought what he was supposed to say. What an idiot. The interviewer just clears his throat and says they'll move on to the last question. A flash of light reflects off his glasses as the interviewer asks how Hanmaru handled the most difficult moment of his life. Looking like a complete fool, Hanmaru says that life has been pretty easy for him and that he hasn't really gone through much. But the interviewer insists, telling him to just mention any problem that comes to mind. Hanmaru, all twisted up, says that nothing really comes to mind except for that time Hanmaru went to the mountains with his father. That's when Hanmaru recalls a memory of himself near that yellow mist. Hanmaru's heart starts racing, and he remembers the black creature with golden eyes staring at him. Now, his breathing becomes shallow. The creature in front of Hanmaru had countless eyes sprouting from its head, with a pile of bloody bodies on the ground, while Hanmaru was still just a child. Now, frozen in the interview, Hanmaru's vision begins to blur, and the chair tips backward, making Hanmaru fall to the ground. Hanmaru stares at the ceiling, everything spinning, until the interviewer approaches, calling for Mr. Hanmaru, shaking Hanmaru's shoulders and asking if he's okay. However, in the middle of his panic attack, Hanmaru tries to hold back his vomit. Too late. The interviewer must have gotten completely drenched. And just like that, we're back at Hanmaru's house, with him sprawled out on the bed, mumbling that it was a disaster. Hanmaru is sure that the interview is a lost cause now. Without a job, without a girlfriend, and without friends, how is Hanmaru supposed to live an ordinary life? Suddenly, someone knocks on the door, and Hanmaru has no idea who it is. Still a mess, Hanmaru stumbles to the door and opens it, asking, "What is it?" Man, it's a Chad woman. Or maybe it's not even a woman. I can't say for sure. The towering human asks why Hanmaru didn't answer sooner. Hanmaru calls her Mom, but then sees her stepping into the room, 3 meters tall, built like a JoJo character. But, of course, a mother is always a mother. Hanmaru's mother says she brought him some food and was about to leave. Hanmaru thanks his mother, asking if there's any meat. Hanmaru's mother replies that there isn't, just kimchi and beans. Hanmaru thanks her. Hanmaru's mother then glances around and notices that all Hanmaru has been eating is instant noodles, dirty napkins, and soda. Meanwhile, Hanmaru stands there, all crooked but happy with his meal. Seeing the mess around Hanmaru, she starts tidying up, wondering how Hanmaru can live in such filth. Hanmaru says he'll clean it later, but Hanmaru's mother is more interested in how the interview went. That's the final blow. Now, the poor Hanmaru slumps to the floor, completely defeated. Hanmaru mutters to himself that there's no way he's telling her that he vomited on the interviewer. Hanmaru's mother crosses her arms and smacks Hanmaru's back, saying that if Hanmaru can't even pass this one, there's no point in worrying. While Hanmaru suffers, his mother keeps cleaning. A while later, Hanmaru's mother even hands him some pocket money. He's moved by her kindness but refuses, saying that Hanmaru is an adult now and needs to work. But, man, Hanmaru's mother just stretches out her massive arm, activating every muscle, and Hanmaru immediately accepts. Hanmaru's mother scratches her gigantic chin and comments that if Hanmaru failed the interview, then the fortune teller must have been right. Hanmaru's mother then tells him that Hanmaru has to visit the mountain. For a moment, Hanmaru looks terrified. The sun is blazing, and Hanmaru stretches as he wonders how many years it's been. Hanmaru realizes he never imagined he'd be back here, standing in front of the mountain where everything happened. But then, Hanmaru remembers that his mother spoke with an excellent shaman, consulting about why Hanmaru couldn't land a job. The shaman's response was that it wasn't due to Hanmaru's panic attacks or ADHD. It was because Hanmaru's father, who died 20 years ago and mysteriously disappeared, had left a barrier on Hanmaru's soul that needed to be cleansed. Until Hanmaru did that, he wouldn't be able to move forward in life. To become a public servant, Hanmaru had to make an offering on the mountain to appease his father's soul. After walking so much, Hanmaru has no idea when he'll finally reach his destination. Until, after a while, Hanmaru stands before a gate and says, "This is it." Hanmaru opens it and pauses for a second, glancing to the side. At that moment, Hanmaru seems to see an identical version of himself. Given his transparency, it's either a soul or a memory. The boy rushes to the house's entrance and slowly starts opening the door. Inside, a man stands with his back turned. Hanmaru fully opens the door and just stands there, staring. After a moment, Hanmaru's child version moves closer, tugs at his father's pant leg, and says he's hungry. But his father seems to have a strange expression and suddenly starts screaming. The boy flinches, and with that, the illusion vanishes. Then Hanmaru feels a sharp pain in his chest and realizes that another panic attack is coming. Hanmaru takes a deep breath and exhales. A bit calmer now, Hanmaru reaches into his backpack, pulls out the liquor, and pours it into a cup. Hanmaru tosses it around the house while telling his father that he hopes his father is having fun wherever he is. Hanmaru explains that he only came because his mother asked him to, asking his father to rest in peace. That's why Hanmaru is there, to offer prayers to the spirits of the mountain. Hanmaru recounts that after his father passed, Hanmaru's mother worked tirelessly so Hanmaru could grow up and find a job. As Hanmaru performs the prayer and offering, that yellow dust starts creeping in. Hanmaru wonders if all this smoke is because there's a fire in the mountain. Hanmaru starts running, reminding himself that safety comes first. But then, Hanmaru hears a strange voice echoing, repeating, "Safety first." Hanmaru wonders if it was just an echo and looks back. Within the yellow mist, a figure emerges.
Oh, man.
You've seen this before, so why are you still standing there? A bloated, belly-burst-headed monster appears, repeating, "Safety first." Poor Hanmaru has so many hallucinations that he assumes this is just another one. Hanmaru wipes his eyes, expecting it to disappear, but whatever it is, it keeps approaching him. Hanmaru knows something is wrong, and that he better start running. But then something hits Hanmaru. Already on his knees, Hanmaru wonders if this is how he's going to die, spending his whole life studying, struggling to get a job, and never even getting to enjoy anything. On the other hand, at least if Hanmaru dies, he won't have to worry about work or bills anymore. Hanmaru smirks, saying that he knows no one will care. But then, Hanmaru remembers his mother. She always worked hard and supported Hanmaru no matter what. And Hanmaru starts getting up, even with that thing still impaled in him, saying, he won't die here. However, the creature catches a scent and, looking all strange, starts moving toward Hanmaru, repeating the same words about safety first. The monster moves in to take a bite, and inside its mouth, an eye is visible. The creature latches onto Hanmaru's waist, and Hanmaru tries to push his torso away to avoid being bitten. However, the monster's mouth is huge and bites onto Hanmaru's shoulder. The poor guy screams in agony, thinking to himself that if this keeps up, he will pass out. That's when Hanmaru remembers his father telling him to eat well. If the monster can bite, so can he. Hanmaru bites onto the monster's neck. This monster never expected the tables to turn like this, and now is writhing in pain while the massive eye inside its mouth keeps staring at Hanmaru. From within its iris, a dark energy spreads, leaking out of its head. Hanmaru's mind is suddenly flooded with visions of countless bodies being dragged away by these creatures, a kind of carnage where the monsters slaughter each other. Watching over all of it is a strange green eye, observing the battlefield from above. Hanmaru tries to comprehend what he's seeing, who's speaking to him, and whether he might already be dead. His mouth is filled with a metallic taste, and Hanmaru wonders if this is the taste of death. Someone calls his name once again. Hanmaru wonders who it could be this time. Slowly, Hanmaru opens his eyes, and a guy who was left behind asks what Hanmaru is doing in a restricted area. With his mouth still bloody, Hanmaru is confused and quickly stands up in shock. Hanmaru immediately looks around, wondering where that monster went or where the creature that emerged from the yellow dust disappeared to. The guy with gray hair wants to know what Hanmaru saw and what he said. Hanmaru explains that a yellow mist appeared beside him. Hanmaru was attacked by a monster, and now he just woke up. Hanmaru was sure he was going to die because his stomach had been pierced through. The people who found Hanmaru exchange glances and signal to each other. The guy with gray hair comments that when the alarm went off about a demon, he thought it was a false alert, but apparently it wasn't. Moreover, it looks like this kid killed it. The girl with brown hair responds that it's impossible. Sure, you can gain a demon's power through its blood, but you can't immediately use its abilities. The guy with gray hair glances at Hanmaru, calls his name, and asks if Hanmaru knows what happened yesterday. Standing there in his torn shirt like some kind of fashion challenger, Hanmaru wonders what he means by yesterday. Then, Hanmaru looks at his phone and nearly jumps. Hanmaru has been unconscious for an entire day. Meanwhile, the guy with gray hair comments that if Hanmaru survived for this long, he definitely gained abilities. The girl with brown hair says it's too soon to make any claims since Hanmaru just woke up and won't understand the situation yet. The guy with gray reassures her, saying not to worry, that everyone goes through this, and places his hands on Hanmaru's shoulders, saying Hanmaru arrived at the perfect time. Hanmaru is going to have to participate. Hanmaru has no idea what the guy with gray hair means, but he is told to change his clothes first since his current ones are in tatters. A short time later, they're back at the port for the orientation for new employees in the special service. Now, Hanmaru is sitting there in his old shirt, completely lost. How did Hanmaru suddenly end up at an orientation for government officials? Not to mention, the atmosphere is anything but welcoming. Everyone looks strange, with unsettling expressions. That's when someone in red clogs walks in. She introduces herself as Yu Young, head of this place, and welcomes the new employees. Hanmaru raises his hand and says that maybe he shouldn't be participating in this event. But Yu Young just tells him not to worry, that she just received his information and he's been admitted. Congratulations! Hanmaru is a new special hire today. The poor guy stands there, completely baffled by what this crazy woman is talking about. Yu Young continues with her script, saying that everyone here should already be familiar with the special employees of this place. Their job is to protect lives. First and foremost, they are not allowed to tell their family, relatives, or anyone close to them that they work here. If this information leaks, they will be punished for violating national security laws. Hanmaru thinks to himself that this is an extremely serious statement. Yu Young then says that everyone here must have received new demon abilities this month. When a demon's blood enters your bloodstream, there's a small chance of gaining an ability right away. Hanmaru realizes that this must have happened when he bit the monster's neck. Yu Young continues, saying that their lucky demons currently only inhabit the mountains. The yellow dust is the first sign that a demon is about to appear. Its concentration ranges from 1 to 10. Obviously, the more dust, the stronger the creature. Yu Young then calls for Xianwu, who raises his hand. Yu Young remarks that since Xianwu received the ability from a level 7 creature, she is looking forward to seeing his potential. The handsome guy, Xianwu, responds confidently, saying he'll do his best and that Yu Young doesn't need to worry. Then, Yu Young shifts her attention to Hanmaru. Yu Young mentions that Hanmaru received an ability from a level 1 demon and asks what it is. Still disoriented, Hanmaru admits that he has no idea what his ability is yet. Immediately, Xianwu nearby starts laughing. Hanmaru thinks that Xianwu is laughing at him because Xianwu got a level 7 demon and Hanmaru got a level 1 demon. Hanmaru feels annoyed, but decides to ignore it. After all, his priority is to get out of this place as soon as possible. Suddenly, a loud alarm blares in the room. Yu Young says it's perfect timing. This is the warning that a demon has appeared. The very next moment they're climbing the mountain. Yu Young announces that it's time for their practical test, the perfect opportunity for them to test their new abilities. Of course, the one questioning why the hell he's even here is our dear Hanmaru. What he really wants is to get out of here before things get dangerous. But just as Hanmaru is thinking once again about safety, Hanmaru encounters the damned yellow dust. Hanmaru's expression says it all. He's scared shitless. Then, through the thick fog, Hanmaru sees the silhouette of a woman. It's the mummy-armed girl that we saw earlier at the start, and Hanmaru wonders if she's okay. At that moment, the black-haired woman turns around, and Hanmaru is startled. The black-haired woman had impaled a 3-meter-tall monster on a stick. Hanmaru stumbles to the ground in shock while everyone else looks on in awe. Yu Young tells them all to pay attention because the practical test has begun. The monster in front of them looks strong, but it's just a rank 1 demon, the weakest there is. Captain Kong, the black-haired woman, had already pinned it against the wall, so no one needed to worry. Kong, however, was more interested in our boy Hanmaru, with his dumbstruck face, the one who somehow killed a demon all by himself yesterday. Kong was curious about the potential of someone who gained powers at the exact moment they faced a creature, since that was extremely rare. Yu Young was excited. She ordered everyone to start using their abilities. But our boy Hanmaru was just standing there in the cold, staring at that massive creature, thinking that Yu Young had lost her mind. How was Hanmaru supposed to fight something like that? A panic attack surged back. His chest tightened and breathing became difficult. In the blink of an eye, Hanmaru found himself standing on top of a red river. A monster with black limbs approached. It seemed to be some kind of female dog, covered in shaggy hair. Ugly as hell. Hanmaru was just standing there, suffering quietly, when the monster nearly placed its hand on Hanmaru's head. The creature grasped his entire skull, shifted to the side, and told Hanmaru to eat. So, the Hanmaru's got a Naruto-like situation going on in his head. But on the outside, he was giving off serious Tokyo Ghoul vibes because, while everyone else was tense, he was practically drooling, saying he wanted to eat. As not just a little drool knew, this was some high-quality illustrated saliva. Someone touched Hanmaru's shoulder, startling him. It was Xianwu, asking if Hanmaru was laughing out of sheer terror. Honest as ever, Hanmaru responded that no, he was just starving. Xianwu, hearing this from Hanmaru, thought Hanmaru was a pitiful newbie and turned his gaze from Hanmaru. Our boy Hanmaru calmed himself down, wondering what the hell that was and why he was so hungry. At the top of the mountain, Yu Young called for everyone's attention. Before they could use their abilities, Yu Young needed to explain the basics. Yu Young clarified that the very existence of the yellow mist was due to the demons. Obviously, the stronger the demon, the more mist it produced. Yu Young then pulled out a knife and said that wasn't all. Making a small cut on her hand, Yu Young explained that those who had received demon powers also had enhanced regeneration. When inside the mist, however, a fatal wound would still kill them, so they needed to be careful. Additionally, their powers only activated within the mist. While fighting creatures outside of it, they were nothing more than ordinary people. Xianwu yawned and asked how long she was going to keep talking. The most important part should have been mentioned first, how to activate the power. Xianwu then said he would give it a try. Biting his own lip, blood started to flow, and the yellow mist drifted towards Xianwu. Something within him seemed to activate. Xianwu felt his strength increasing, his eyes turning golden. The secret was to let the mist enter his bloodstream. Xianwu put on a glove and declared that it was time to begin. Suddenly, Miscot had been wed, and the monsters had exploded. Kong shouted for everyone to be careful as the yellow mist began surrounding them. Now free, the monsters started moving, letting out a roar in their direction before slamming the ground. The poor newbies, who had just started this job, were already terrified. Kong moved to intervene, but Yu Young ordered her to stay. But Kong insisted that this was too much for beginners. Still, Yu Young refused, saying that this was the perfect time for practice. If they couldn't handle a level 1 creature, they would just die anyway. The monster suddenly sniffed the air and locked eyes directly on Hanmaru, who was standing there, scared stiff. Hanmaru immediately wondered why this damn thing was looking at him. Then, out of nowhere, the monster's hand opened and a knife shot out, flying straight at Hanmaru. Damn, the thing was fast. Hanmaru took a hit to the arm, collapsing to the ground in agony. Kong felt sorry for him as Hanmaru writhed in pain. Hanmaru got back up, his arm throbbing, but the monster was already closing in, ready to crush him. The monster landed right beside Hanmaru, creeping closer. The two locked eyes as it reached out, but suddenly something burst out of the ground. A monstrous centipede wrapped itself around the monster, choking it down. Turns out this was one of his colleague's abilities, the demon centipede. Then, the female student with brown hair attacked from behind, slicing the monster's head. Her ability was from the Hojo demon, whatever that was. What I do know is that the monster just lost half its brain and was now screaming toward the sky, spreading more mist. The brown-haired girl smirked, saying at least they had won. But then, the yellow mist swirled back into the monster's head, restoring it completely. Now they realized that the creature's regeneration was also insanely powerful. The monster grabbed the centipede and yanked it from its neck. Since it was connected to that boy's arm, the creature used it like a whip, flinging the boy into the brown-haired girl. Then it pulled the boy back in, squeezing him tight. This thing was petty. Opening its massive mouth, it prepared to take a bite when suddenly something snapped inside a glove. The monster's neck twisted violently, and it let go of the boy. Now it made sense. Sienwo wasn't just some flashy dude. Sienwo was stylish. He had the ability of the temple demon. Apparently, when Sienwo broke his own bones, he could break the monster's too. The creature lunged at him, but Sienwo took off his glove and shattered his own wrist, telling it to die. With that, the monster's entire neck twisted and exploded. Its body collapsed to the ground, leaving its head at his feet like a soccer ball. Sienwo explained that once a demon's head was severed, it could no longer emit or absorb mist. So that was it. The rest of the trainees were left stunned. Sienwo commented that it was a good chance to test something new, but then Kong appeared behind him and asked if Sienwo had intentionally broken her stake to wake up the demon. The kid had villain potential. He simply denied it. No, of course not. Where was the proof? But Kong grabbed Sienwo's arm and said they could find out really quick by breaking his fingers to see if Kang's weapon shattered again. With that, Yu Young clapped her hands, cutting in and praising Sienwo for doing well on his first try. However, someone was missing. Our boy Hanmaru had bolted out of there. Hanmaru wanted no part in this. Working a job like this? No way. Hanmaru wanted a peaceful, ordinary life, not one where he had to fight demons with cursed powers. But someone needed to tell Hanmaru that he was the protagonist of the story, so Hanmaru wouldn't be escaping the action anytime soon. Yu Young shook her head, saying that someone who ran away like that wasn't qualified to be a special agent. Meanwhile, Kong was still trying to process what she had seen earlier. There were countless targets in that area, yet the creature had clearly chosen to go after Hanmaru. Yu Young immediately ordered them to find Hanmaru and check if he was still alive. But then, Kong was the only one who noticed the obvious. Why hadn't the yellow mist disappeared if the leader was dead? Now, everyone else started wondering the same thing. Meanwhile, Hanmaru stood in front of a gate that was exuding an insane amount of mist. Hanmaru wondered why it was there. At that very moment, a new monster appeared. The thing was huge, at least 15 meters tall, and Hanmaru immediately ducked behind a bush. Why him again? Of all people, why did Hanmaru, the one most desperate to escape, have to run into something like this? Hanmaru took another peek to see if the monster had vanished, but nope. The monster was right behind him. Just then, with a dyed hair called Kong Chana. Yeah, that's her name, folks. Kong Chana asked what was going on, and Yoziak said she had received an alert from headquarters. A level 3 demon had been detected in the area. Yu Young found it odd. Demons didn't usually show up one after another like this. Kong Chana wanted to know where that monster appeared. Our boy Hanmaru was running for his life through the restricted area, skidding across the ground, shouting for help, until Hanmaru tripped over a rock and face-planted. Hanmaru got up and spotted that same house, his father's house. At least Hanmaru knew this place and where he could hide. Hanmaru dashed towards a house with an iron door and slipped behind it, panting, wondering what the hell that thing was. Hanmaru peeked through a gap, reassuring himself that there was no way the monster would follow Hanmaru this far. Of course, it was right there. Why the hell was this thing so obsessed with Hanmaru? Not to mention, Hanmaru had no idea what those things floating around its head were. Just then, Hanmaru heard the sound of the gate opening. An old woman stepped inside, calling out for someone and wondering why there was so much yellow mist in the air. The old woman's cataracts were bad. The old woman couldn't even see the 15-meter-tall monster standing right in front of her. Meanwhile, the creature was grinning, ready to devour the old woman. Hanmaru knew he had to do something to save this old woman before she got killed. The problem? Hanmaru wasn't strong enough. How was Hanmaru supposed to pull this off? That's when Hanmaru remembered what Yu Young had explained. Those who had received demon abilities could regenerate wounds while inside the mist. However, a fatal wound would still be enough to kill him. Hanmaru's hands trembled.
He knew he might die.
Maybe Hanmaru should just stay hidden and save himself instead of throwing his life away for some stranger. The old woman squinted into the distance, asking if that was Changsik's mother. Even the monster seemed confused, repeating her words. The old woman took a step forward, scolding it for mimicking her. Then the old woman froze. Now, that was close. Her eyesight might have been bad, but this close-up, her cataracts weren't a problem anymore. The old woman could see the massive creature standing right in front of her. Terrified, the old woman stumbled back, struggling to comprehend what the old woman was looking at. Meanwhile, the monster just kept repeating the old woman's words. It raised a single finger, and spikes took aim. Then it attacked. Blood splattered, and Hanmaru had thrown himself in front of the old woman and taken the hit. Sure enough, as the old woman slowly opened her eyes, she found the boy, Hanmaru, bleeding out in her lap. Hanmaru weakly asked if she was okay. The old woman said yes, but Hanmaru collapsed onto her, missing an arm and piled all over. Man, our boy Hanmaru suffers. Struggling to stay conscious, Hanmaru told the old lady to run while wondering why Hanmaru had been cursed with a level 1 ability. His power was as useless as the resumes Hanmaru sent to companies. In the end, Hanmaru was going to die, and Hanmaru wouldn't even be able to save the old woman. All Hanmaru wanted was for someone stronger to show up and save him for once. As Hanmaru lay there, waiting for help, the yellow mist began seeping into Hanmaru. Marks started surfacing on his neck, and here came the telltale cultural artwork, drool. Then, in a sudden burst, Hanmaru lunged straight at the monster to bite it. Meanwhile, Kong Chana was sprinting through the forest. Kong Chana heard a scream behind her and turned. She burst through the gate, only to witness something insane. Hanmaru was feasting on the monster's neck. Horrified, Kong Chana couldn't comprehend what this rookie, Hanmaru, was doing. The creature grabbed Hanmaru by the head and slammed him against the wall. Hanmaru was barely conscious, but it looked like Hanmaru had swallowed the chunk he bit off. The monster, on the other hand, was furious. Hanmaru had taken a bite out of him. As the monster tried to flee, Kong Chana noticed something. The part that Hanmaru had bitten was not regenerating. Kong Chana didn't understand why, but this wasn't the time to worry about that. Kong Chana charged at the monster, leaping high and grabbing one of its crystals. With that, Kong Chana activated her steel demon ability, transforming the crystal into a sword. The monster roared, hurling spikes at her. Kong Chana turned just in time and reflected them all with the blade. The monster was forced to defend itself against its own attack. But now, Kong Chana was right in front of it.
Deadly.
Beautiful. With a precise vertical slash, the monster was taken down by her, and with that, it crumbled into dust. The battle was finally over. Blood rained over the scene, drenching the area in red. Kong Chana approached the old woman, asking if she was okay. The old woman seemed to have fainted. Moments later, the old woman suddenly woke up, confused. Kong Chana, now completely clean, probably because the blood had turned to dust, casually reassured her, saying that a wild boar had passed through. That was all. The old woman muttered that boars often passed by around here. Kong Chana assured the old woman not to worry. Kong Chana would handle the problem. The old woman thanked Kong Chana for her hard work and returned home. Kong Chana's expression changed immediately. She turned toward Hanmaru, determined to find out what Hanmaru was actually. Kong Chana had never heard of someone with a level 1 ability regenerating an entire arm out of nowhere. In theory, his ability should have been weak. Our boy Hanmaru, screaming in frustration, had just received a message saying Hanmaru would be starting work tomorrow. But after remembering that spiked monster that nearly killed him, Hanmaru had zero interest in showing up for that job. Hanmaru collapsed onto his bed, muttering that there was no way Hanmaru was going to that job. But on the other hand, Hanmaru really did need work. Desperate for a job or not, Hanmaru was too exhausted to think, so Hanmaru decided to just sleep. However, if there was one thing Hanmaru never got, it was a moment of peace. As always, Hanmaru was dreaming about that war where the red monsters devoured and slaughtered each other. A voice called out, telling him to come back. Suddenly, Hanmaru woke up in a cold sweat, panting, staring at his hands, unable to make sense of what Hanmaru had just experienced. Morning had already arrived. Hanmaru glanced outside, only to see that the entire mountain was on fire. Amidst the burning trees and bushes, a creature made of ashes was walking, setting everything ablaze. Then, a soaking wet girl with black hair appeared, throwing water at it. To be honest, those little splashes weren't going to do much. But the black-haired girl wasn't alone. Another person with brown hair arrived and launched an ice attack. The monster's leg froze solid, turning it into an oversized popsicle. The girl with black hair called for the brown-haired man as team leader, noting how strange it was. Monsters like this weren't supposed to appear at night. But the man with brown hair told her not to worry about that yet. First, they had to stop the fire from spreading. The monster was beginning to melt the ice. The man with brown hair pulled out 2 swords, saying he would take care of it. The man with black hair charged toward the monster, but right at that moment, something emerged from the monster's forehead. A sinister eye opened, issuing a command. Bring that person. Meaning our boy Hanmaru. Instantly, the monster broke free. The man with brown hair and the monster closed in on each other. One prepared to attack, the other about to throw a punch. At the very least, the man with brown hair managed to block, but even then, the man with brown hair was sent flying into a tree, crashing hard against it. He was wrecked. The soaking wet black-haired girl called for the team leader, panicked. But the creature hunched down, and a cauldron formed on its back. Lava began to spill out, and the brown-haired man realized that the monster was getting bigger and stronger. Meanwhile, at headquarters in Seoul, the monitors were flashing red, blaring emergency alerts. Yu Young demanded a status report. With all these warning signals, it was obvious things were going south fast. A staff member reported that 20 mountains were under attack simultaneously. The way these monsters were appearing had suddenly changed. This had only started happening this week, but no one knew why. One of the staff members interrupted, saying they were getting an urgent call from Busan. Yu Young answered, asking what the issue was. The man immediately greeted her with, "Hey, big sis." The caller was Bae Myung-sik, director of the Busan division. Bae Myung-sik wanted to know when Yu Young was planning to visit his city. Yu Young sighed, greeted him, then told Bae Myung-sik to get to the point. That's when Bae Myung-sik explained what was happening. There had been a portal open for 3 days straight. Yu Young was stunned. How was that even possible? Monsters just kept pouring out. The team in charge of the area was exhausted, fighting nonstop with no end in sight. Yu Young asked why the portal wasn't closing. Had they identified the cause? Bae Myung-sik said that the monster they were dealing with just kept repeating the same thing over and over. They even sent a girl with interpreter abilities to figure it out. The monster's message: bring that person. As the monster continued rampaging, Yu Young asked who exactly this person was. Bae Myung-sik admitted that was the problem. They had no idea. Bae Myung-sik didn't know who it was, but whoever it was needed to show up fast. Yu Young then made a call to someone with blue hair. Aboard a helicopter, the blue-haired guy picked up, asking what the problem was. Yu Young quickly explained the situation on the mountain. Without hesitation, the blue-haired guy stepped to the edge of the helicopter and simply said, "I'm on my way." The blue-haired guy told Yu Young to call back once he had handled things, and with that, the blue-haired guy leaped, plunging through the air like a shooting star. On his way down, the blue-haired guy passed through a wave of yellow mist. This blue-haired guy had zero fear. Then, all of a sudden, the blue-haired guy activated spatial inversion, suspending himself midair. The blue-haired guy landed gracefully on top of the gate. The people below were shocked. Who was this lunatic who just dropped in out of nowhere? One of the brown-haired women yelled for him to get down. It was dangerous. Meanwhile, the red-hooded monster grinned, seemingly pleased by the blue-haired guy's arrival. It lunged at the brown-haired woman, aiming for a piercing kick. The brown-haired girl barely managed to dodge. The problem was, now the monster was right above her. The brown-haired girl had no way to escape. But then, the newcomer, blue-haired guy, reached into thin air, opened his spatial tear ability, and ripped out the monster's entire spinal column. The monster froze in shock. The blue-haired guy casually congratulated everyone for their hard work, saying they could rest now. From here on out, the blue-haired guy would handle things. The captain with glasses was thrilled, but the girl with brown hair wanted to know, who was this blue-haired guy? The captain explained, this was the first ever special ability user, the founder of the task force. The blue-haired guy stretched, placed a hand on the ground, and said, "Let's get this over with." Here was the strongest monster ability user, Director Jong Il-do. Purple lines spread across the ground, reaching toward the mist. They rose higher, until they towered above the moon itself. From afar, everyone saw it, wondering what the hell that thing was. The guy with glasses admitted he had never seen this in person before, but in theory, this was the most powerful spatial ability in existence. Jong was carving a path straight into the yellow mist. Meanwhile, back on the burning mountain, the magma monster had grown even larger, and the ice water dew couldn't hold out any longer. The girl had collapsed. The black-haired guy called for her to get up, or they were both going to die. The lava beast charged again. The ice user desperately raised a barrier, but the monster smashed through it. The monster kept attacking, hammering at him repeatedly until the shield shattered. The black-haired guy crashed to the ground, gasping for breath. Black-haired knew this was it. This was how he was going to die. But then, a rift appeared behind the monster. Jong yanked the monster's head through it, hurling the entire thing away. The explosion sent crows scattering through the sky. Jong declared that it was time to take care of this monster. Not just this one, but all of them. Jong activated every single rift unit across Gangwon province. A boy was being trampled by a monster. The monster spoke something in a strange tongue, then stabbed the boy in the chest. But at that moment, a rift opened behind it, and the monster was dragged inside. Across all the mountains under attack, the same thing started happening. The monsters were being pulled into the same place. On the one hand, this was good, now they were all concentrated. On the other hand, this was extremely dangerous. One of the staff members noted that the danger signals were disappearing, and the director, calmly, Yu Young, stated that this just meant Jong had arrived safely. The good news? Jong's plan worked, and now all the monsters were in one place. The bad news? Jong's plan worked, and now all the monsters were in one place. But Jong was thrilled. Now was time to begin. The monsters screeched and charged toward him, but even surrounded, Jong simply pointed at one and tore open a spatial rift. Then, with the grace of a ballet dancer, Jong executed a Michael Jackson spin, slicing in every direction at once. Demon heads flew into the air while the rest of the squad watched in disbelief. They had never seen someone this powerful before. Jong then approached the magma monster and called for the translator. Jong told her to handle this. Then, Jong asked the monster why all of them had suddenly become so agitated this week. The translator relayed the answer. "Bring that person." Jong frowned. He asked, "Who is this person?" The monster simply repeated the question. The translator reported that the monster was just copying what Zhang had said. Without hesitation, Zhang slammed the monster into the ground. "If that's the case," Zhang said, "then we'll just keep killing them until they stop coming." Now drenched in blood, Zhang turned his attention to the gate once again. Zhang placed his hand on the ground and opened a spatial void beneath it. The entire area was absorbed. Honestly, that was an efficient way to handle things. One of the squad members, the brown-haired girl, felt safer knowing they had someone like Zhang to rely on. In a single moment, Zhang deactivated his power, and the gate was gone. The next day, back at headquarters, Yu Young entered the office and immediately asked Zhang what he had done with the portal. Zhang casually explained that it was inside his black void and that Zhang was exhausted from the effort. But the insufferable woman, Yu Young, just told him Zhang should handle everything, as he always did. Zhang groaned, saying that he had limits too. It wasn't like Zhang could run the entire organization by himself. Zhang turned on the TV, saying that he understood, but Zhang had already gathered the information Yu Young asked for. The screen displayed photos of all the new recruits. Yu Young wanted to know why Zhang was so interested in them. Zhang explained that he was trying to understand what the monsters wanted. Not only that, Zhang wanted to figure out why the monster wanted him. Amidst the endless pile of monstrous bodies, there was a single gigantic woman's corpse. That same green eye was watching, still repeating its message. "Bring him." Meanwhile, Hanmaru's first day on the job. Hanmaru arrived at work. His mother had cried when she found out Hanmaru got a government job. Hanmaru couldn't give his mother any details, but she was so happy that Hanmaru simply couldn't refuse. The moment he arrived, he was immediately greeted by a gray-haired man who bluntly asked, "Why the hell did Hanmaru come back?" The gray-haired guy shook his head, saying he didn't want a coward on his team. Hanmaru only smelled the reek of alcohol. The actual boss greeted them, and Xianwu, still fuming, immediately said he didn't want to be here. Xianwu wanted to be transferred to the main city, but the leader with gray hair just shrugged, saying he had no idea why a level 7 had been sent to this place either. Clearly, there was some kind of issue with Xianwu. Either way, both of them were welcome to Gangwa's team. Hanmaru wondered what exactly he'd be doing here when there weren't monsters to hunt. As soon as the leader opened the door, Hanmaru saw everyone in the office killing zombies and dissecting creatures. The gray-haired man called Hanmaru, asking why he wasn't coming inside. But then reality hit. It was just an ordinary office like any other. That's not what Hanmaru expected. The gray-haired guy in the Hawaiian shirt introduced himself as Go Deokmin, the team leader. The girl with glasses was Yoon Jaewon, who had 7 years of experience. The plank guy, who had also been there for 7 years, was Kim Yebak. And the TikToker? We already knew him, Yoziak, who had 1 year of experience. Deokmin told them to get along and to sit wherever they liked. Hanmaru, sweating, found a seat. He wondered if everyone had been this stressed on their first day. Nervously, Hanmaru greeted his new coworkers, trying to make a good impression. But then Xianwu, sitting directly across from him, glared and told Hanmaru to stop looking at him. Poor Hanmaru was crushed. Xianwu, meanwhile, was pissed that he had been sent to this isolated place. So, Hanmaru turned his attention to Yoziak, who was busy browsing designer brands online. Hanmaru asked what exactly their job was. Yoziak casually pointed around, explaining that they were a special unit that dealt with the yellow dust. There were 13 divisions spread throughout Seoul, and those ranked level 7 or higher were assigned to special missions. As for their island, it was mostly for incompetent people or for those who were just plain weird. Hanmaru immediately related. That explained why Hanmaru was here. But still, something about this place felt off. Yoon Jaewon added that some capable people volunteered for this job. At that moment, both of them turned their heads, and damn, Kong Chana trained hard. Hanmaru, feeling awkward, straightened up, but Kong Chana stared right at him. Yoon Jaewon told Kong Chana she should go home after her shift at the station, but Kong Chana just sat down, saying she had no reason to go home anyway. Kong Chana watched all of this unfold quietly, observing the fact that Hanmaru had ended up here. Something strange had happened. Kong Chana had woken up with no memory of the previous day. Meanwhile, Hanmaru was shocked to learn that he would be getting hazard pay. The salary was good, but the fact that hazard pay existed made it very clear that Hanmaru's life was constantly in danger. Then Yoziak mentioned that it was 5 times the normal salary. Hanmaru's expression completely changed. That was a lot of money. Yoziak, annoyed, told Hanmaru to stop bothering him. Yoziak was busy. Hanmaru, meanwhile, was just wondering what the hell he was supposed to do in this place. Time passed. Hanmaru was getting used to things. You'd never imagine he'd land such an easy job that paid so much. Then Go Diakman stretched, announcing that the workday was over. Diakman approached the 2 newbies, asking if they had any difficulties or questions. Sianwa simply said no. Hanmaru, however, had one question. He wanted to know where monsters actually came from and why they existed. Diakman just shrugged. Nobody knew. Sianwa added that most people believed they came from above. Hanmaru realized that nobody knew where these monsters came from, but nobody seemed to care either. Humanity was doomed. It was frustrating, but somehow these people were doing their jobs, no matter how bizarre things were. Back at headquarters, Yu Young rode the elevator down. Yu Young found Zhang standing in front of a golden capsule. Zhang asked her what Young thought. Yu Young glanced at some reports, commenting that the monster appearances seemed to have stabilized. Zhang, however, continued staring at the swirling yellow mist, wondering what caused this sudden surge of monsters. Yu Young suggested that maybe they were getting closer to the truth. Zhang wasn't so sure. Zhang was staring at a fallen angel, bound and suspended upside down, with white hair, and murmured that he wasn't convinced. Zhang wanted all the leaders to stay on high alert for now. If the rest of the organization found out about these details, it would cause absolute chaos. The scene then shifted to Hanmaru, who was asking what they were talking about. The others were grilling some barbecue, casually explaining that this was exactly why they had to celebrate as much as possible. Yoon Jaiwan mentioned that because of this prophecy, they tried to enjoy life every day. Confused, Hanmaru asked them to actually explain what was going on. Diakman finally answered. There was a prophecy that in 1 year, demons would start raining from the sky. Countless portals would open all over the world, and the earth would be drenched in blood. Hanmaru immediately thought that sounded insanely terrifying. Diakman told him to keep that information secret. It was a very classified secret. Meanwhile, Yoon Jaiwan encouraged everyone to drink until they vomited. Yoziak wanted to go home, and Kong Chana warned them to be careful since they had work tomorrow. Apparently, Sianwa's biggest weakness was alcohol. It was already wasted and passed out. Hanmaru, however, kept telling everyone to stop drinking while wondering why no one seemed to be scared about this apocalypse prophecy. At that exact moment, a golden light shone above a mountain. A gate opened in the sky. Yellow dust began pouring out, and countless hands emerged from within. The moment the first bald-headed monster began appearing, everyone's phones blared with an emergency alert. Yoon Jaiwan sighed disappointedly, complaining that nighttime disasters were annoying because she just wanted some time to relax. Meanwhile, Kong Chana stood up, saying she'd be back soon. Sianwa immediately said he was going with her, but Kong Chana refused, stating she wanted to take Hanmaru instead. Hanmaru wanted nothing to do with this. Here, Hanmaru was, forehead pressed against a car window, wondering how he'd ended up in this mess. Kong Chana then called Hanmaru's name, reassuring him he didn't need to worry so much about the prophecy. Hanmaru replied that this wasn't something to be taken lightly, but Kong Chana confidently said she was sure the people at the top were already making the necessary preparations. Hanmaru might not know it, but countless powerful individuals worked in this organization. Right now, all they had to focus on was locating the monsters and killing them. Hanmaru was terrified but also absolutely smitten by how cool she was. Kong Chana then mentioned that Hanmaru seemed to have a special kind of ability, and she was excited to see what he could do. Hanmaru was thrilled. For the first time, someone actually expected something from him. Then Kong Chana casually remarked, "I've never seen someone eat like Hanmaru before." She wondered if it was some kind of gluttony demon ability. Hanmaru had no idea what she was talking about. Kong Chana explained that it literally seemed like Hanmaru had the power to eat monsters. Hanmaru hated the sound of that, but then the scene cut to a monster being impaled. Kong Chana had easily pinned the thing down and turned to Hanmaru, beaming. "You're really going to make me say it?"
Eat it.
Kong Chana explained that Hanmaru's ability seemed to prevent regeneration, so she wanted to see it in action. It was time for Hanmaru to take a bite. Hanmaru hesitated, ripping the monster's tentacle. At this point, Hanmaru figured he might as well do his job. The creature was disgusting, but he told himself to just think of it as eating octopus at a restaurant. Hanmaru leaned in, teeth bared, but barely nibbled. Kong Chana scolded him, telling him to actually put some effort into it. Hanmaru needs to bite like he means it. Hanmaru sighed and said he understood, reluctantly starting to chew. The next day, back at the office, Hanmaru was dying, his entire body ached. Sienwa immediately smirked and said he'd heard Hanmaru threw up yesterday. What an idiot. Hanmaru didn't even care. He just asked Sienwa what exactly he expected from him. Sienwa scoffed. "Someone like you should have never been sent here. They should have assigned someone actually useful. Hanmaru should be grateful Commander Kong Chana even has the slightest interest in his ability." Then Sienwa walked off, flat out calling Hanmaru useless trash. Hanmaru was completely roasted, but, to be fair, Sienwa had a point. Hanmaru needed to wake up and start trying harder. That was when the alarm rang. Kong Chana stood up, about to call his name, but Hanmaru was in the bathroom, hands on his face, trying to figure out how he was going to get used to eating monsters. He had an ability, which was good, but his ability was to eat monsters, which was not good. As Hanmaru walked down the hallway, he suddenly ran into Kong Chana and nearly had a heart attack. His soul practically left his body. Kong Chana raised an eyebrow and asked if Hanmaru had been hiding in the bathroom. Hanmaru admitted yes. He'd heard the alarm but got food poisoning after biting that creature. Kong Chana sighed, lowering her head. "So, you're really not suited for this job." She explained that Hanmaru didn't have to work for the government just because he had a special power. There was another option. He could sign a contract stating he wouldn't talk about this to anyone, then live his life under constant surveillance for the rest of his days. Hanmaru was shocked. He thought the alternative would be a little easier than that. Kong Chana added that this was better than dying on the battlefield. People with your level of mental fortitude usually don't last very long. The way you're acting, you could easily be sent on a mission to save someone and end up letting them die because of a mistake. If you really can't do this, leave the job now. She leaned in cold. We don't need people who are useless. Poor Hanmaru, he got roasted everywhere he went. Meanwhile, at the office, Kong Chana figured Hanmaru had probably given up. You'd think this was the start of Hanmaru's motivation arc, but no, Hanmaru was standing on a bridge, actually happy for once. Maybe he really wasn't cut out for this. Maybe living under surveillance was better than dying in battle. But Hanmaru had no idea he was the protagonist of this story. Escape was impossible. Right at that moment, his phone rang. It was his mother. Hanmaru picked up, already thinking about how he didn't want to keep fighting monsters. "Hey, what are you up to?" His mother told him she was on a hiking trip to Ganghwa Mountain. Hanmaru froze, putting a hand over his face and groaning. Hadn't he told her to stop climbing mountains? But then the call quality suddenly worsened. His mother paused, confused. Why is there so much yellow dust in the air? Instantly, Hanmaru's heart dropped. The call cut off. Oh hell no. Now the motivation arc was kicking in. At Ganghwa Mountain, the security team was already on site, preparing to deal with the monster. The guards stood frozen, unsure of what to do. One glanced up and saw a monster perched in a tree, gnawing on a human arm. A crystal gleamed on its forehead as it smiled at them. Meanwhile, Hanmaru was sprinting toward the mountain.